Well, in April of 2015, Mia shipped off to basic training to be in stars. And I drove her there, and I was feeling so many emotions driving over there. There was anxiety, but also there was a mournful feeling. And I know she would be back in 3 months, but I didn't want to let her go. But I did. I dropped her off at this big, big, light brown, cream colored building. It was about 5 or 6 floors, and it was very wide. And I drove back. I guess my work there was done. And when I was driving home, I tried to listen to some happy music, but no, nothing worked. And in those 3 months, I kind of just, well, I kept the house clean and I cooked for myself. And in May, I spent some time at the beach. And also, in late May, early June, I went back to North Carolina to spend some time with my mother and my stepdad, Bob. And then I went to go see my father for a little bit. And it was in June that my father told me that he had cancer, but he's still going to fight it. And then I went home in late June. And in early July, it was time to go back and pick up Mia. And I went to her graduation ceremony, and she marched out in her, well, she marched out in this nice dark gray suit, like a lady suit. And she looked practically unrecognizable. She had lost so much weight, but she looked slim and lean. And maybe just a little bit sexier. I meant that as a compliment, Mia. And yeah, it sure felt good to see her. And she had also done her training to be in recon, because they also trained her on how to do reconnaissance. And on the way back to the house, I asked her, "What exactly is it are you going to do?" And she said, "Oh, well, I'm going to go on missions." And what I'm going to do is I'm going into dangerous places and neutralizing the threat. And yeah, I knew what that meant. And then I took her back home, and she had about 2 weeks of leave. And in early August, I started driving her 30 minutes a day, every day, to headquarters, which was still northeast of Mount God. And I drove her every day. And I had also started making her lunch every day. Yeah, and whenever I dropped her off, we would always kiss. And yeah, when she got back from training, we we got right down to it, if you know what I mean. But we weren't really sure when or if we would get married. We didn't know. Well, I guess the story really begins in October of 2015. I was bored. I was so bored. It had been 8.5 months since me and Mia had gotten back from Mount God after the death of Conway, and I hadn't done a single thing besides what I had to do. I haven't done anything. So, I decided to give Scott a call. And he said, "Oh, hey, Ethan, what are you, calling about?" And I said, "Oh, hi, Scott. I just wanted to hear how you were doing. And also, is, Fredbear, should they open up any new locations?" And then he said, "Oh, yes. In January, they're opening up a sister location, and it's gonna have a bit of a circus theme to it." And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, we need to check that out." And he said, "Oh, okay. Although William will not be a part of it. It's going to be this guy Henry, this man Henry." And I said, "Okay, well, let's look into Henry, and we need to, well, we just need to go to this sister location, and just see how it is, if, like, is it haunted? Is there something going on there?" And he said, "All right, okay, well, I'll be looking into it." All right. And Halloween of that year, there was a big party at Stars HQ. And yes, they were invited to bring their significant others. And I was talking to her colleagues, so to speak, and I was very concerned that all her colleagues were like big, hunky guys. Like, could she be cheating on me? But I was glad that she introduced me. She was like, "Hey guys, this is my man, Ethan." And they said, "Oh yeah, we heard all about you, man. You, good house husband? You, do all the dishes and cook and clean?" And I said, "Yep, that's right." "Yeah, yeah, and you're letting your wife be the man of the house. Out fucking standing." And I said, "Oh, well, I do other stuff. I investigate corporations." And they said, "Yeah, right. How do you make money?" And I said, "Oh, well, I make money off being a YouTuber." "What? A YouTuber? God damn it." And I said, "Oh, I also write." "Huh. Oh, great. A writer," they said. And yeah, I was getting pretty upset at this point. And I said, "Okay, I'm going to show them I can be a real man and a real husband." And in November of 2015, Scott called me back and said, "Okay, Ethan, now, I think I might be able to get a case against this place because the the robots, they're built with a pretty serious security system. In fact, if they see someone that they think is an intruder, they are told to subdue them. And I feel like that could be dangerous, so we should investigate that. And also, since it is Fredbear's, well, there might be something there that we need to investigate." And I said, "Hell yeah, Scott, hell yeah." And I had put it on my calendar to leave in January of 2016. And that is what I was going to do. But during on the Founders Day, which is what November 23rd is called in Ethalonia, that's our big anniversary of our country, I took her out to this really nice skyline club in San Marquis, right near where her old shop used to be. And I said, "Mia, this past year I've spent with you, it's just been unlike anything I've ever experienced. And I know you've had a hard time with what happened to Connie, but I really hope I've helped you through this. And she said, yeah, you have, you have. And I said, well, I hope I can make you happy. And she said, oh, you have, Ethan. Don't worry about that. And I said, well, I am worried with what I'm about to ask you. Mia, I've never met a single woman like you. And I don't ever want to leave you, which is why I'm asking you. I got down on one knee and pulled out the ring with the ruby right in the middle of it. And I said, Mia Parker, will you marry me? And there were people right next to us looking at us. And she said, yes, I kind of already am, Ethan. And I jumped up, kissed her, and put that ring right on her finger. And then I ordered us some champagne. And it was a good night when we got back. And that Christmas, she took some leave time off, and we spent Christmas cuddling together. And it was actually a very warm Christmas that year. It was definitely not a white one. And it was on January 2nd that Scott gave me a call back and said, all right, Ethan, the new location is opening up right now as we speak.